Just don't do a PhD if you don't want to do it. Hello and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Manur and I'm a second year PhD student at Oxford University. Today, I wanted to talk about reasons why you should not do a PhD. Before I start and go into those reasons, I just wanted to clarify that I'm very happy doing my PhD and I'm happy to guide and advise others if I can at any given time. But I just wanted to talk about some reasons which are not good enough reasons to do a PhD. No judgment on anyone who decides to do a PhD, even if they have these reasons. But the thing is that I find PhD to be quite a difficult and long journey, and anyone who's already done it or is in the process of doing it can tell you that it is difficult and you should think about it really carefully before you start. So, one of the worst reasons of going to do a PhD is because you just want the doctor title. I mean, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is just a title worth your time, efforts, your sweat, and tears? Because if you're doing a PhD, you will spend about 3 to 4 years of your life, sometimes even 5 years of your life, doing the same thing, exploring the same question, finding answers. So, is it really worth it just for having the title? Is it worth it? You need to ask yourself that. And if you still find that it's worth it, then go ahead and do a PhD. The second reason for not doing a PhD is if your parents want you to do it. I mean, of course, you should listen to your parents, and I don't know whatever dynamics you have with your parents, but doing something just because someone else wants you to do it has certain limits. I mean, going for a degree that would take so much of your life, your time, and would be hard on you, is it really worth? I mean, you could be doing a lot of things with your life and still be happy, still being earning well, living a respectable life. Just doing a PhD for like fulfilling someone else's dream, you should think about it carefully. And if someone's pushing you to do it and you don't really have your heart into it, then it will be a really tough journey for you. So if you want to avoid that tough journey, maybe just maybe just before you decide, talk to someone and try to make people see that you don't want to do it, because unless you want to do it, it can't be done. It's a long journey and it will be your journey. No matter ultimately whoever wants you to do it, it is you who would have to go through the ups and downs. For sure, everyone else, your friends and family, would be there for your emotional support, and you will need that emotional support. But the actual work has to be done by you. So think carefully before you decide to do a PhD. The third reason that you might choose for doing a PhD, and which is not a really good reason, is the hopes of getting a high pay. A PhD does not necessarily lead you to a higher pay or a higher stipend or anything. Like while you're living as a PhD student, even if you get a scholarship or a stipend like I have, it is still a student stipend and it is limited. It is good to have a scholarship or a stipend, but it is still a student life and it will not give you something extraordinary. And even after a PhD, not every field gets you to the heights of pay scales. In some cases you might get to a higher pay scale, but it's not always the case. And especially if you're in the health sciences field or studying biology, everywhere in the world including the UK, even after a PhD, the average pay for a PhD is lesser than the national average. And this is not me saying it, these are the statistics from around the world and from the UK as well. So wherever you are, just think carefully, look at the stats, look at the opportunities. If a PhD is going to get you newer opportunities and will open newer doors for you, go ahead. And of course it does open newer doors for you, but it does not always mean that you will be earning more. If you are sure you will be earning more, which I don't know how that's possible, no one can always know for sure, but then again, it's okay to take risk and that is how you find out. The point is that it is not guaranteed, and if it's just the pay that holds you towards a PhD, then it's not a good enough reason. You should have other reasons for doing a PhD. Getting a higher pay can of course be a reason, but it should not be the only reason. Another bad reason for doing a PhD is because you love to study. You love learning things and you love answering questions, but those questions are bookish questions, or you love learning and taking exams. A PhD is not the standard exam. You do not have to memorize answers and then quote them in an exam. A PhD means asking your own questions and exploring answers, and you might not even find those answers. So, just because you love learning things, you like reading books, or you enjoy the process of exams, think carefully because a PhD is not about taking exams. You do take a final viva or a mid career or a mid PhD exam, which is an oral exam or a viva, a discussion, a presentation, but it's not learning stuff from the books and giving answers. And PhDs in Europe and the UK do not even have coursework. So if you enjoy coursework basically, then you might not want to do a PhD because a PhD is not coursework. Even if it does involve a year or two of coursework in certain parts of the world, it does not completely rely on coursework. It mostly relies on your research. So, unless you enjoy research, unless you enjoy challenges and asking your own questions and finding your own answers, and importantly, being okay with not getting answers all the time, then you should do a PhD. But if you just love learning from books or taking exams, then please think carefully. This should not be your only reason for doing a PhD. Another thing that you need to think about is PhD for PR or residency purposes. So the thing is that many of the people travel, and again, no judgment, to other parts of the world for a PhD on a student visa just because they want to settle there, which is completely fine as long as you actually want to do a PhD. Just enrolling in a PhD with the hopes that you would ultimately get a PR in that country or permanent residency, you might want to reconsider or do something else, maybe do a master's. Because if your only goal attached to a PhD is to settle in a country, then you will be highly disappointed with the challenges that come, and you might not even be ready to go through those challenges. I mean, if you have thought about it, if you are completely okay, if you actually enjoy research and you have various other reasons, then it's completely okay. A lot of people study internationally. I am doing it, and I would never ever discourage anyone from doing it. In fact, I would encourage you to go abroad and study, especially if you are from low income countries. Try and broaden your horizons, try and go somewhere else. But just for settling in another country, I mean, you don't have to do a PhD. You could be doing something else with less stress and enjoy your life. I would never ever want to discourage anyone from doing a PhD. I am enjoying my PhD. I had my reasons to start a PhD. I wanted to explore that field, and I would never ever think about discouraging anyone. But I do want to say that it is a challenging journey, and even if you absolutely love doing it, you will sometimes think about what you're doing with your life, why you're doing this, and how much more time will it take, and how many more challenges will you have to face. So, the whole point of doing this video and trying to come up with reasons why you should not do a PhD is not to discourage anyone. It is only to tell you that you should carefully think about the reasons why you are doing a PhD. And if those reasons are not attached with motivation, dedication, research orientation, a love for the field, a love for doing the same thing for many years, then you might want to reconsider. Just because of a title, just because of a higher pay, or just because of settling in another country, you can do a lot of other things and achieve those. If your goal is not to do a PhD, then don't do a PhD. It should be your goal, your dream, and your love. If you love it, if you love the field, if you really want to do something in that field, then you definitely do a PhD. But if those are not your reasons, if your reasons are temporary, like just getting somewhere else through that PhD, of course a PhD can take you places. But if your original interest is not a PhD, it is just achieving something else, then think about other ways you can achieve that thing. For a PR, you could do a lot of other things. For getting a doctor title, I mean, a title is not even necessary. Especially, I want to say this for people in Pakistan, and probably I think this happens in India and Bangladesh as well. Just because you couldn't get into a medical school, you don't have to do a PhD. You don't need a doctor title with you. Unless you're absolutely interested in that field, please, because it would be a loss on you. No one else would suffer, it would be you who suffers. I've read a lot of stories about people who've left their PhD midway or who spend their entire PhD journey being extremely frustrated just because they didn't want to do it. And I also remember reading someone's story who enrolled at Oxford coming from Pakistan but left midway because that person wasn't happy with the degree. They only chose that degree because it was at Oxford. So don't be that person. Don't waste your time, don't waste your life, because a PhD would take a considerable amount of time. You have already done a bachelor's degree which took you 3 or 4 years. You don't have to go through another 3 or 4 years just because you think it will get you a higher pay. If your career cannot progress without a PhD and you want to do it to progress, then definitely do it. But please think about the reasons why you're doing it and what you want to get out of it. I hope I haven't offended anyone, and I again want to emphasize that I'm not discouraging anyone from doing a PhD. I just wanted to put this out there. If your reasons are not actually to do a PhD, then don't do a PhD. If there's any comment, if you have anything more to add or something to discuss, please comment down below and I would be happy to get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. It would really help support this channel. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Bye.